In this video we're going to be going over square roots, and if you understood what it means to square a number, then this should be fairly simple for you because square rooting a number is the exact opposite of squaring. For example, let me just zoom in here. For example, 3 squared, if you remember from the previous video, that means we would have to do 3 times itself, which would be 9. So 3 squared equals 9. And the opposite direction, the square root of 9 is equal to 3. Now you may have noticed on your calculators, sometimes you'll see a symbol that looks like, that looks like this. And this is your square root symbol. And so if I wrote the square root of 9, it would look like this. And just like I said before, up above the square root of 9, it would be equal to 3. So what does square root actually mean? Well, when you try to square root a number, let's just call this unknown number x. It can be anything. What this means is what we're trying to find, what times itself will give that value. In this case, the value of x. For example, if the question is find the square root of 25, what this means is we need to think, okay, what times itself gets us 25? And if you remember from your your squares lesson, that 5 times 5 is 25. Oh, sorry, 5 times 5. Which means the square root of 25 is equal to 5. Now, you are expected to know 10 of these, just like in the last video. Here are the 10 square roots you should have memorized. So the square root of 100 is 10. The square root of 81 is 9. The square root of 64 is 8. The square root of 49 is 7. Square root of 36 is equal to 6. Square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 16 would be 4. The square root of 9 would be 3. Square root of 4 is 2. And finally, the square root of 1 is 1. Now, these should all make sense to you. It's literally just the opposite of what we practiced in the previous lesson. We know that 1 squared is equal to 1. We know that 2 squared was 4, 3 squared was 9, 4 squared was 16, 5 squared is 25, and so on. So you can really see here how squares and square roots are the exact opposite of each other. 6 squared gets you 36. The square root of 36 is 6, and so on. When you challenge this level, I will ask you one of these 10 questions, and you'll have to know this from memory. So just be ready for that. For the second part of the challenge for level 2, I will be giving you a random decimal number that you will have to square root. For example, I might ask you to find the square root of 4.84. And the good news is this is incredibly simple to do. It would be really difficult to do in your head, but the good news is most calculators, unless you get a really cheap one from the dollar store, have this wonderful square root button, which generally looks like this. Sometimes it might look like that. So all you need to do is type in your calculator, you press that button, and then type in 4.84, and it'll calculate the square root of that number for you. Again, I don't have a calculator handy, but actually, wait a second, I do. So let's see, the square root of 4.84 is 2.2. So yeah, it's pretty simple to calculate the square root of any number. As long as you have a calculator handy, you can just press that button and go for it. So that is it for lesson number 2.